This time, it's personal. It is damn personal. Let me say this to you. Number one, out of all the people, out of all the groups, organizations, companies, you name it, that could come at a black man, woman, etc., I didn't expect this to happen, and I definitely did not expect it to happen in this manner. Disney. All of us who grew up on Disney watching the VHS tapes, had all of them stacked around the house. You know what I'm talking about. We watched Disney. We grew up with Pinocchio and the Little White Mermaid. And, you know, we grew up with Disney. You know, I'm going to take you back. The Great Mouse Detective. Some of y'all don't remember him, do you? I'm going to be him today. We're going into the details of what is happening here, people. Disney came at Michael Jackson and Chris Brown in one swoop. Oh boy, listen, Disney already is highly racist. We know this. The foundation of Disney is highly racist. We should know this, but their perpetual nonsense does not seem to stop. So let me say it this way. I just looked at something. Chris Brown was supposed to perform for the 40th anniversary of Thriller. Now, you may not like Michael Jackson. We don't give a damn. But you may not like Michael Jackson. That is perfectly fine. That's perfectly up to you. But you cannot deny that Michael Jackson is by far the greatest overall entertainer on the planet. Period, bar none, period. Now, we're talking about before social media was created, before the digital realm and all of that. You're talking about a man who sold hundreds of millions of records and over 1 billion records with no social media. You're talking about somebody who has over 20 world records. You're talking about somebody who has literally met president after president after president, a man who has statues all across the planet, a man who has done so much charity work. I believe he has over 25 records in charity of how much money he's donated, how much time, how many different categories of charities. So much so to where he built an entire park called Neverland Ranch, dedicated to children who are going to die sooner than later so that they can enjoy life in the mindset of feeling like they were in Neverland. I had to just, you know, y'all should know by now, I love Michael Jackson. Love our brother. Chris Brown too, that's our brother. He was supposed to perform 40th anniversary of Thriller at the AMAs. They canceled Chris Brown's performance, and they said, and I am going to quote because the quote is so disrespectful that I'm still shocked. I'm still shocked that they even said this. But it says Chris Brown's Michael Jackson performance at the AMAs allegedly, they say, got canceled due to ABC executives not liking, quote, the prospect of a convicted domestic abuser honoring an alleged child molester on a Disney network, end quote. Okay, so let's unpack this whole thing. First of all, how dare you? Number one, ABC? Really? Number two, Disney. So we are to believe Disney cares about children now. Disney cares about decency. Is this what we're talking about? Disney cares about ethics and morale. You want us to believe that you actually care about these things, and you brought up these old actresses' labels trying to paint these black men as things that, first of all, Chris Brown did his time. You're talking about over 1,400 hours of community service that they called, quote, labor-oriented service for that circumstance way back in 2009. It is going into 2023. Over a decade, nearly a decade and a half has gone by, and you referred to this brother as a convicted, okay, stop it. Then you referred to Michael Jackson as an alleged child molester. No, he was found not guilty. He was acquitted of all charges. See, here's a sick problem with you. The mainstream media that no one likes, and this is why no one likes you, because you continue to label black men primarily with these things that don't apply. Even if they're facts, they don't apply anymore in the present, meaning this is not their orientation. Okay, it's like calling a person a Christian because that's their religious belief, right? That's their religious belief. That can apply because that's their religious belief. But if a person has done an action in the past, they're not the action that they have done. They are who they are. The action they did was in the past. It's over. It's done. They've made up for it. There should be a forgiveness. They've done their time. Chris Brown did that. His time, made up for it, apologized. Him and Rihanna both apologized. They moved forward. Rihanna has a child now in a whole other relationship. Chris Brown has children now. He's doing his best to simply create music, to be the best example that he can be as a black man and an artist. At this point, it's kind of like, why do you guys continue to target our icons specifically? I think for them to do that was not only a high level of disrespect, but why would you even pay the man? Why would you even have him rehearsing? The footage for the rehearsal was dope, first of all, and I'm gonna say this as that part of me that's a dancer. The footage was dope, but you guys replaced it with stuff that was ridiculous. I mean, you know, we love our people, but I mean, there was nothing better performance-wise that would have been better than brother Chris Brown honoring Michael Jackson for the 40th year anniversary of Thriller. So the American Music Awards, you embarrassed yourself. That's why our sister Kelly Rowland had to correct you, because she gave flowers to a brother who has been fighting to just be a decent human being. But when it comes to normally people of the more pale shade, they get a pass and a slap on the wrist. Let's go ahead and analyze this a little deeper here. I'm trying to figure this out. That how is it that on Monday, June 13th, 2005, Michael Jackson was acquitted on all 10 counts by a jury of 8 women, and 4 men. And because they said there was no sufficient evidence to determine that he did what he was accused of doing. Then later on, that same child who accused him came out and admitted that he lied and said that his parents told him to do it. You gotta be real careful with this thing. We have an internet now for a purpose. We have documents, we have things that are evidence. We have it all right here for an absolute reason. So we kind of looked at that. Anyone can Google this, and I don't encourage people to just Google, but at this point I'm going to say go ahead and do that because it is that easy to find that. The Leaving Neverland circumstance that followed in 2019 by a man named Wade Robeson and another man by Mr. Safechuck, James Safechuck, that came out as well trying to discredit Michael Jackson years later, saying that he did the same thing to them. Here is the thing that we have to get through our heads. We're talking about Disney coming at Michael Jackson and Chris Brown for virtually no apparent reason. This is why we don't trust you. And when I say you, I'm talking about any of the mainstream platforms whatsoever, including these film awards, music awards, any of these things. You guys have this sick obsession with attacking the image of the black man. It's just very, very, very sick. You push homosexuality all day long. You can push that all day. Kiss a man on stage, kiss a woman on stage all day. It's not that you want to just include people. No, you're pushing this. It is becoming quite overwhelmingly disgusting, so much so that large members, or a large percentage of members within the LGBTQ themselves are speaking out against it. They can't stand it. They're trying to figure out, why do you guys continue to push this? But then when you have a good man like brother Chris Brown, and I say good man, I'm going to say that. He has made mistakes just like all of us have, made statements out of ignorance, or made statements, no, I would say genuinely out of ignorance, like many of us have. So there should be a process of forgiveness, especially when you're not talking about killing nobody and robbing and doing, you know, horrific things like that. The brother's doing his best to be a good man, but you don't want him to perform because you are holding him to something that was done over a decade ago. You guys are sick, and it's becoming quite obvious. So Chris Brown, being a brother who has made mistakes, as many of us have, deserves to have some type of forgiveness. Again, he and Rihanna both have moved forward, so why haven't you? trying to figure this thing out here. They've moved forward. So why did they, meaning the AMAs, ABC, Disney, etc., take it upon themselves to bring up that old label and toss that on him, and also bring up the old label of Michael Jackson that absolutely does not apply? Neither of them do in present time, but Michael Jackson was found not guilty. Again, 8 women in the jury, 4 men in the jury said that there was no sufficient evidence to determine that he was guilty of what he was accused of. The boy said that he lied. He said his parents told him to say that for the money. Here's the other thing that made me laugh about all of this. During that trial, when it comes to Michael Jackson, one of the people that testified on his behalf was a young individual by the name of Wade Robeson. And this individual, Wade Robeson, is the same one who came out years later in 2019 in a documentary titled Leaving Neverland, who said, the testimony that I gave about Michael Jackson back then in 2005, I lied. He actually did do something to me. See, this is why we don't trust white people. We don't trust even the truth, because so many people are actual victims of this thing, so that when you lie about it, it makes it harder to believe real victims. This is a sick thing. You can't play with this, especially when children are coming forward saying, you know, hey, mom, you know, dad, whoever, this happened to me, this person did this to me, etc. They have to be believed. But because you have sick people like Mr. Wade here and Mr. Safechuck, who lied about it, and then later on is now trying to say, no, I defended him back then, but as of right now, no, he actually did do something to me. And they put it in the whole documentary that was over 3 hours long. It just baffles me to see that these kinds of things can continue. But the poetic justice in all of this is, once the Leaving Neverland documentary was released, here was the beauty. The documentary was released. Soon after, the Michael Jackson estate went after it because they said, wait a minute, you didn't include our rebuttal, meaning us pointing out all of the inaccuracies, all of the lies, all of the taking things out of context here. And even in that, Mr. Safechuck had a lawsuit against the Michael Jackson estate right after, and he lost. And Wade Robeson himself was absolutely ripped apart in the media, specifically by one named Brandy Jackson. He's talking about Michael Jackson's niece now. Wade Robeson's former girlfriend of 7 years, who when this documentary came out, she came out and ripped him apart. She said, wait a minute, you mean Wade Robeson, my former boyfriend? You mean Wade who, she said, pretty much sexed his way up in the industry because he's a choreographer? She said, this man is an opportunist. She ripped him apart. She said he lied. He is the one that I dated for 7 years, and my uncle, Michael Jackson, is the one who set us up. And she said, why didn't he tell anyone that? Oh, because it would mess up your timeline. When you lied and said that my uncle was doing this and that to you over here, we were together. So all of this stuff is a bunch of nonsense. We're debunking how ABC and the AMAs and Disney try to come at Michael Jackson and Chris Brown. Oprah Winfrey received a lot of flack for her standing with that film and her interviewing these individuals in that film, because that was very sick to do, Oprah, because Michael Jackson is a brother who trusted you, and you interviewed him more than once before, especially when it came to him saying that he does not want someone who was white to play him as a child, and you were coming at him in a weird journalistic approach, sister. And he even asked you, would you like an Oriental child to play you? And you said, absolutely not. He said, okay. He said, I'm a black man. I love being a black man. See, you guys have consistently tried to come at Michael Jackson because he exposed a lot of what was happening in the industry. He exposed who was controlling the industry. He exposed how they were whitewashing everything, history and the present. He exposed certain names of record execs who were trying to destroy him. He exposed how much money that they were taking from him in these wicked contracts. He exposed a lot of what many of the people are exposing today. And the problem is you have never forgiven him. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you might want to lay off of Michael Jackson and Chris Brown and any of our people who are doing good work, because it's not going to be too good for you. Next point here is, for those who are looking at this, right? And I was just laughing at the irony. You're talking about Michael Jackson, you're talking about Chris Brown, you're talking about leaving Neverland. I've been to Neverland. Now here's something that may mess some of y'all up right now. Yes, Rizza Islam has been to Neverland twice, once in 1999 and again in the year 2000. I went to Neverland with a group of children on buses from Compton, went all the way up to, I believe it was Santa Barbara, or in that area, a couple hours away. We went to Neverland. Best place I had ever gone, ever. Michael Jackson came out, greeted us. He was with us from what I can remember, most of the time. They had different animals. They had two-headed snakes, two-headed lizards. They had some of the world's largest animals there. They had the Ferris wheels, and they had food everywhere. I mean, like, it was crazy. There was one large building that had a movie theater. The concession stand had nobody behind it. They say you can go and get whatever you want. Yo, listen to me. You can go get whatever you want. They said as much as you can carry. Back then, you already know, candy, popcorn, whatever. We got it all. Went in there, sat down, watched the movie, came out, got on the train, went to another location, bumper cars, like I said, Ferris wheels, all that stuff, ice cream everywhere and all these machines. It was crazy. I didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave. That is how Neverland was. I promise you. It was on point. And Michael Jackson was one of the most loving brothers you could ever meet. Period. I'm just giving you my experience. I've been to Neverland. There's a lot of people who can't tell you this. I've been there myself, and I didn't find none of what the hell people are talking about. It's kind of why I'm laughing, like, what are y'all talking about? I've been there personally, again. So my Neverland story ain't that, but that's why it's kind of like, we know that you guys are targeting the images of black men, specifically heterosexual, masculine black men in particularly, because even though you're talking about Disney, you didn't want Chris Brown to do the performance. You didn't want him to honor Michael Jackson because you didn't want a domestic abuser to honor an alleged child molester. See, you're very sick. Case in point with your thick hypocrisy. You don't want Chris Brown or Michael Jackson to be propped up, but you'll prop up a flaming, homosexual by the name of Billy Porter, who was the first black male to play the fairy godmother in the classic movie Cinderella. Let me ask you this. What are the positive psychological effects of having a man play your beloved godmother, your fairy godmother? Remember, we're talking about Disney. This is a classic of yours. But you let a black man completely carte blanche, freedom of will, to play a fairy godmother, and you called him the fabulous godmother? What are you doing? Why is it, Disney, that in your racist foundation, when you depicted black people, you would depict us in the most slave-like postures? Why is it that in Dumbo, a lot of us seen Dumbo, oh, y'all like, damn, Dumbo, I ain't seen that in a long time. Remember big ears, Dumbo? Elephant used to fly with his ears. In Dumbo, remember those crows, the birds? Yeah, one of the crows' names was Jim Crow. Disney, you sure you want to go down this rabbit hole? Okay, let's continue. Disney, why is it that in 1933, when it came to Mickey Mouse, there was an episode in 1933, of course, we understand what was happening back then. 1933, the episode was called Mickey's Melodrama, and it was based off of Uncle Tom's Cabin. Now, a lot of y'all have never heard of some of these things because they are cartoons from way back then. But this is by far one of the most racist damn animated cartoons back then. One of the early episodes of Mickey Mouse, where the whole episode they're in blackface and they're finding different ways to get in blackface. The whole time. Hair is way out here, blackface here, blackface there, trying to make fun of black folks. And not trying, they did. I mean, it was horrific. This is one of the banned cartoons and episodes from back then. Disney had so many racist cartoons depicting black people with the eating of the watermelon with the Nickelodeon real type things, to us with the big lips and all that stuff, and ooh mama, ooh, all that stuff, racist as hell. Disney, you want to go here? Disney, please explain why in something called Reimagine Tomorrow, just last year, Disney, and the meeting video was leaked just a few months ago this year, where some of the executives and some of those who work with Disney executives were out of their own mouths saying, this is our not so secret gay agenda, where we are happy to see that there has not been opposition when pushing for same-sex kissing and same-sex relationships in cartoons. Why? Why? This Disney reimagining tomorrow, you are saying, is to become a vehicle to give voices to the voiceless, those who are not being represented. I really don't think you have consulted with a lot of same-sex couples. I don't think they're interested in you pushing that onto children. Here's the only point that we're looking at here. This is dealing with children, guys. Now, you can do whatever freakish thing you want to do at home. That's you adults, grown adults. We love our people. Doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is, but I absolutely disagree with pushing it on children. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think at that point. Children, you have to learn how to have some kind of respect. But again, Disney, you'll go at Michael Jackson, found not guilty. You'll go at Chris Brown, did the time, made up for it, and him and the other person involved, Sister Rihanna, both moved forward. But you brought that up randomly out of nowhere after over a decade and a half. But you're pushing for black men to be fairy godmothers. You're pushing for them to push more homosexual everything in cartoons. Lightyear, the movie Buzz Lightyear, remember Toy Story, Woody, Andy, all of them, Mr. Potato Head, all that stuff. Why is it that the movie Lightyear was banned in 14 countries? The new Lightyear movie, why was it banned in 14 countries? Because you had a same-sex couple there. For what? It's a children's movie. And some of you may think, man, Rizza, you don't get it. No, you don't get it. What's the purpose? Sex is not supposed to be promoted all the time, even though it is getting promoted. We need to increase in our discipline and realize, guess what? It's not about us as adults. It's about the children. It's not about you. It's about them. And what we do impacts their minds and how they operate. So 14 countries, they said, no, we're not doing that. 14 countries, you're talking about Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, parts of Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Kuwait. They were like, we are not letting that movie come over here because we're not letting that mentality come over here. I'm just trying to figure this out, Disney. I'm trying to figure out Disney. Please explain to me, Disney. How is it that 4 employees, as a part of 108 people, were arrested in a human trafficking scheme March of this year in Polk County, Florida? Disney, your employees were involved in a human trafficking sting. Disney, what's going on? No? All right, how about this? Why is it that in September, another one of your employees, as a part of 160 new arrests in another sex trafficking sting? Another one of your employees, Disney, was a part of this human trafficking circumstance, child trafficking along with adults. Disney, what are you doing, Disney? What's going on at Disney? See, again, hey, if somebody is wrong, we can point it out. If Michael Jackson was wrong, we'd point it out. Chris Brown was wrong in his behavior. They both went and admitted that, moved forward. Okay, so we can correct the action without throwing our people away. You, however, have all of this sick crap happening in real life with your employees, and you have the audacity to try to say Disney doesn't want to represent a child alleged child molester. And guys, stop it. You don't care about children, not even close. Disney, you don't care about children. Walt Disney didn't care about children. Walt Disney is someone Jewish who hung out with Nazis. Walt Disney got protested heavily back then in the foundation of his whole network by black folks because of all the racist stuff he was depicting us in cartoons and different things like that. And he was protested by some of his own Jewish brothers and sisters and people because of him teaming up with the Nazis in certain ways. He supported some of the movements that they were involved in and others he didn't. But listen, Disney, you should humble yourself. And the AMAs and any other awards, you might all want to humble yourselves when it comes to treating people unfairly, because where this whole racist behavior, this whole pushing of the homosexual, leaning onto the pedophilia arena, it's being exposed. You might want to knock it off because the people are not going to accept it. And the last thing I'm going to mention here is, because I was also looking at the other recent situation with the Little Mermaid, right? Here we go with Disney. Little Mermaid. Everything was cool when it was a pale Caucasian white girl with red hair in the ocean, which would never exist. But that is Disney's classic. We knew. We all grew up on it. We remember her. We remember you with your damn racist depiction of the crab who was a Jamaican. Sebastian, you made the crab. God dang it, Disney. You made a little red crab a Jamaican. Ooh. Oh, y'all got us good, man. I love Disney. I grew up watching Disney. Y'all got us good because you tapped into the psychology of the child and you helped us to imagine things, or so to speak. I'm in Compton watching y'all VHS tapes, being indoctrinated into this whitewashed way of thinking and behaving from these cartoons and not realizing all the subtle racist things that you put in it. And here you go again with the Little Mermaid. Do you know the Little Mermaid on YouTube received more dislikes than likes, and the comments were overwhelmingly racist, calling this girl monkey and the N-word and you name it, going crazy because white people like their history. I get you. That's actually something we agree on completely. I absolutely agree. If that's yours, let it be yours. But the problem is you're kind of hypocritical because that means you don't actually want diversity. You don't actually want inclusion unless it's homosexuality. Then you can include that all day long. But if somebody black gets in the position of one of your loved characters, oh boy, God damn it. And that's where you go crazy. So again, I found all of this to be very, very interesting. And the amount of money that Disney has made is in the billions. Your parks and all the stuff y'all got going at these parks with these people being caught with children. You got guys, I think it will be good for you to humble yourselves because again, at this point, that's kind of why we don't like to work with traditionally racist companies. Logically so. But in giving people a chance, a lot of our artists and celebrities and athletes do their best to work with people. Why? Because they have children too. Life is going on. We're pushing to move forward. But what a lot of us have to really get through our heads and have to admit to is that a lot of these companies are sincerely racist and they love being that. They don't want anything unless it's white. They don't want anything at the top, should I say, at the top, unless it's white, including the executives, including the true controllers and influencers over where things go, even when some people say otherwise. No. So anytime you come at us, we're going to open up your history and put it right in front of your face. But I think that us as a people, we should start to support more our own things, our own awards, our own companies, businesses, our own shows, our own networks. Come up with our own. and just support our own. Because at this point, it's about to be 2023 and the same sick racist mentality is blowing up all over the place again. It doesn't make any sense. So if people want to show that they are different from their racist ancestors, then it has to come through certain behavior and certain actions. But until then, we should definitely do our own thing and work with each other, you know, when it's mutually beneficial. But when it comes to this here, this misrepresentation, it just can't fly anymore. Heterosexual men, and particularly heterosexual masculine black men, consistently are being attacked. And I have to mention just one little piece before I end this here. I don't doubt that one reason why they came at Chris Brown, because again, they hired him, you know, to put the money up and etc. They did all that. And then right when he's supposed to perform, you cancel it. I don't think that is completely separate from the reality of the Kanye West circumstance, the Kyrie Irving circumstance, and when Kyrie Irving stood up last year and decided not to take the shot. One of the only black men of influence who stood up and stood beside Kyrie for just making his own decision was Chris Brown. I don't entirely see that to be outside of this equation. I don't see this whole thing where Kanye West brought up contracts and he said contracts. Everyone should show their contracts. And Michael Jackson was the same one saying the same thing, along with Prince and many others. I don't think that that's outside of this circumstance, because he exposed a lot of these executives from these companies as well, particularly Sony and others. But I don't see it as being completely outside. I'm not saying it absolutely applies completely, but I'm saying they know what they're doing. And how they operate is they want to make you and I feel bad for standing beside our people who stand up for the truth, righteousness, and doing what is right, etc. And they want us to make it, they want to make it feel wrong for standing next to them and any one of them that stand up for what is right. And they attack them relentlessly in the media so that we have a list of people that we should not stand with. But I'm here to tell you that that's not going to fly. We stand with our people, and if they do wrong, we have the right to correct them privately and still stand with them, just like you do with yours and everyone else does with theirs. It is perfectly fine. It is okay. But when it comes to our people, let's stand with our people when they're doing right, correct them when they're doing wrong, but show them love regardless and continue to move forward in a collective manner. Disney, I think you should humble yourself, because at this point, you're being exposed of being a pedophile supporting, homosexual agenda pushing, sex trafficking. Oh, I don't know what kind of environment you are. What are you guys talking about in your training? Like, what kind of people are you hiring that keep getting caught up in these human trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking stings? What are y'all doing? Time to humble yourself, Disney. ABC, you're next. AMAs, we really shouldn't be watching you in the first place, and any of these other award shows, but I'll leave that up to all of you, and you can make your own decision. But I'll leave it at that. Peace, family. Brother Rizza Islam here at Intellectual Extremist. You already know. Check this out. 1, I need you to go to joinrizza.com and join that so that you can be notified of all the different things that we have going on. 2, I need you to go to rizzaislam.com, and subscribe to that website. And also make sure you pick up something. This week, you see the natural immunity wins, specifically with the red, black, and green version. Red for the blood of our ancestors, black for the original people across the planet, and of course green for Mother Earth. Make sure you go ahead and get yours at rizzaislam.com. It supports the work. It keeps us free to do the research, put out the information, support you, represent you, and fight for the people. That's all I got to say today. Oh, no, I think that's it. See you next time.